Hello, 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 everyone. My name is Xanthia Harris, and I'm president of Harris and Harris Wealth Management and certified financial planner. My focus is working with successful professional and executive women. Well, it's an honor to come to you today because one, it's Women's History Month, and what a great month to highlight such a wonderful guest for my monthly podcast. But before we get started, I would love to share with you some exciting news. One, I was invited or accepted as one of Maryland's top 100 women recognized by the Daily Record. Yay! I'm so excited. I was so surprised to receive this honor, and I can't wait to celebrate it with my family and friends. Now, let's get started with the podcast. Let me introduce you to my guest. Her name is Xanthia Johnson. She is a licensed psychotherapist, and she has a private practice in DuPont Circle in Washington, D.C. She loves working with professional women of color and unique families of color. She deeply enjoys witnessing her clients go through their personal journey. I think that's fascinating. So tune in, and I hope that you gather some life tips and some financial tips as you listen in to our current broadcast.
Hello. I would like to welcome you to the Harris and Harris Wealth Finance and Stilettos teleconference series. My name is Xanthia Harris, certified financial planner and president of Harris and Harris Wealth Management Group, a firm focused on the financial success of professional women who are going through various life transitions. The Finance and Stilettos teleconference series highlights dynamic and powerful women of influence whose stories I feel should be shared to motivate, encourage, and enlighten women professionals and women business owners so they can make healthier professional and financial decisions. My guest today is Xanthia Johnson. Xanthia is a supreme embrace guru, a licensed psychotherapist, an expressive artist, and a media maven. Her boutique private practice, Urban Playology LLC, is in DuPont Circle, Washington, D.C. Xanthia just adores working with professional women of color and unique families of color. She deeply enjoys bearing witness to journey. Xanthia's dope passion for cultural embrace has been featured in the Washington Post, NPR Radio, New York Daily News, and Dreams in Drive. Welcome, Xanthia.
Thank you so much, Amelia, for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm so excited for our conversation today, and I just want to go ahead and just dive in because I think you're going to have a lot of insights that's going to be beneficial to the audience. So first of all, let's start with you. Can you share a little bit about what drew you to starting a counseling and mental therapy practice?
Thank you so much. Well, for that question, the first I want to say, I want to thank you for even existing and for being you. I want to commend you on all of your success because we are so fortunate to have your leadership and your likeness here on the East Coast and just in the world. So you are changing lives and want to commend you for that.
Oh, thank you. You got me blushing over here.
I'm really inspired by the work that you do. In terms of what drew me to counseling, I had graduated, had a break between my undergraduate program and then going into a master's program. I was trying to decide what type of program I would go into. Initially, I was actually going to be a pediatrician, and when that didn't seem like that was my path anymore, I had to find a career that would allow me to have all the same connectedness and interface with children and their families And so I just stumbled across counseling, and it was just such a pleasant surprise. It really allowed me to have the interpersonal and deep connection with folks that I really value, and it allowed me to be a scholar and an academic as well. So that's how I made my way to counseling, and it was really one of the best life decisions I've ever made.
Wow. Well, I love when people are following their passion and they find that the guidance to actually listen to their inner self and to pursue that. So I think that this is powerful in what you're saying, because a lot of times I think in life we get so busy and sometimes we don't hear what's going on inside of us that may be trying to knock on the door and say, hey, let me in. I'm trying to direct you in a particular path. So I think that's wonderful that you found this and that you listen to yourself tell you that this is where you should be focusing your energies. So what types of therapy do you practice within your counseling therapy?
This is a great question because I use an integrative approach. And, we sometimes hear about cognitive behavioral therapy or psychoanalysis. And what I love about the integrative approach is that it may pull from those different schools of thought. However, my main focus is to ensure that people who make their way to urban playology are having a supremely embracing experience. That they don't feel just tolerated, that they feel embraced.
Okay.
Because
so I'm going to ask. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, just because when you feel embraced and when you are truly embraced for who you are, you can do what you need to do, and your path, your journey is clearer. But when you are not sure whether you can share certain parts of yourself with someone or whether they're going to understand or get it, it makes the process so much more challenging.
Being heard, that's so important. And being able to share all of who you are is also important, because that's something that I'm actually learning about myself as well, because in my life I found that there are certain pieces of myself that I would open up and be willing to let people experience, and then other parts I kept closed off, and the only people who were allowed to really know that about me were very, very close friends or my family. So being able to be heard and to be you are things sometimes I think we don't even realize. It's almost like it's really going to being authentic, completely authentic. So, and maybe there are different levels of that. I don't know. So maybe you can talk to that. Are there different levels of being authentic?
Well, what I can say is that I know that as people of color, as women of color, we code switch and we censor a lot, because we wake up and go out into a world that is not embracing and that does just tolerate us, that rejects us sometimes. And so it's a natural, almost adaptive mechanism that we practice in order to just get through life. And so what I knew about my practice is that I needed it to be a place where women of color did not have to do that, where they could practice being their full, authentic selves and be embraced for who they are. Most of the challenges that I see people coming in with, and I call them gifting challenges, because all challenges are gifts to help us grow.
Okay.
And most of the challenges that people come in talking about, women of color come in talking about, to me, date back to not being able to fully express themselves and not being able to fully be who they really are. The anxiety, the depression. Anxiety is about fear of the future, and depression is about the past. you know. And so most of the time they're coming in with this anxiety and this depression because at some point or another they received a message that who they were, something about who they were, was wrong or flawed. Okay, and so they internalize, they try to process, the brain tries to process that information, and then we get, anxiety or depression because we haven't really been able to fully express who we are.
I'm sitting there listening to you and thinking about myself. Those are great definitions of anxiety and depression. I don't think I ever thought about them in that way. Anxiety is the fear of the future, and depression surrounds fear about your past.
About the past, that's right.
Okay, all right. So let me just ask this question. With your clients, do you ever get to a point where you're done?
That's a great question. Well, I really view psychotherapy, as a collaborative process. Most people of color do not want somebody looking at them and saying what's wrong with them. Okay. We are a resilient group. We like to lead with our strengths. And so that's really what I do in my work with clients. And it's collaborative. If people are feeling like they're ready to move on and that's what they want to do, of course, we can support. My job is to support you and guide you in wherever it is that you're saying that you want to go. And if you need to come back, then we can certainly pick up where we left off because there's an open door policy at Urban Playology. So if you want to go out there and try out some of the things that we've unearthed in our work together, please do. And then if you want to come back, you can do that. Or if you want to keep on moving forward and keep on growing on your own, there's no hard and fast rules about what's supposed to happen in your life. You are the author. You are the authority on your own life. And I'm just a guide. I'm there, bearing witness to your journey.
I guess that's why you say you deeply enjoy bearing witness to this journey that people, that you see as you guide women through whatever it is or challenge that they may be facing at the moment.
Absolutely.
Okay, so can you share an aha or some ahas that kind of occur as women work with you?
Well, I think what is so interesting, the women that come to Urban Playology that make their way have either fit into two categories. They have either gone to therapy and felt rejected by their therapist, which makes me clutch my pearls every time I hear it.
Okay.
They did not feel fully embraced by their therapist, or they know that those types of experiences exist and they are so uninterested in them. Okay, so they are coming to be embraced and they believe in themselves. They know that if they have a place where they're fully embraced, they can work everything out.
Okay.
So they tend to fit in those two categories.
Okay. So what's your take on therapy versus coaching?
That's a great question. I think that it really depends on the person. I see how coaching has some therapeutic properties, and I know that sometimes with coaching, it's hard to move forward unless you unearth some of the stuff that's at the root of the stuckness, what's at the root of the stuckness. And sometimes coaches are psychotherapists and they have the capacity to be able to help you dig a little bit deeper and kind of clear some of that out. And other times they're not. And so sometimes coaches will actually suggest that you find a good therapist.
Mm.
Sometimes you'll find a situation where someone has come for psychotherapy and it seems like they need more coaching. I haven't had an experience like that. There usually seems to be some kind of root work that they need to be doing or that they could be doing. For the most part, people are needing and wanting to do the deeper work so that they can move forward.
Okay. So does that mean that a lot of your clients are already self-aware?
I would say that many of them are self-aware, and I think for them, sometimes, kind of going back to what you asked just a moment ago, I think some of them are, once they sit down, I mean, in my office, you can kick off your shoes, pull out your peanut butter and pickle sandwich, take off your wig if you want to, okay? That's how embraced you are when you come to urban playology. And so for some of them, I think that they have been repressing that pain that comes with having to code switch and censor so much that they usually have this moment where they're like, oh my gosh, I've never felt like this before. I never felt like I could tell somebody that I just screamed at someone or that I just ran my car off the road or that I just, did something or said something or that this thing happened to me, and to feel fully, so fully embraced. I don't think I've ever felt like this before.
Right.
So I think that is painful for people. There's a hope in it, but it's really painful, that first awakening and that first awareness of it.
Wow. Okay. I'm going to try to get through my questions, but I have some other things that's kind of coming to me as we're talking, and I'm sitting there and thinking about as a woman of color, feeling as you were describing this experience that when they get to the level where they feel that comfort, it almost feels like it's a major weight that's taken off their shoulders.
That's right.
And then they're able to release. So once the weight is gone, then they're able to release. Is that kind of like the feeling that you're okay.
That's right.
So as busy women, we tend to focus on, and I'm going to just speak of me, and the women that I have encountered. We tend to focus on the next thing. So the women that come to my practice are successful women, and they're always ready to embrace the next challenge, the next goal, and have a major to-do list. I got to do all of these things and get all these things done, and then I'll feel like I can then relax in some form. It may not be full relaxation, but I can breathe. So how do we maintain a healthy mental and emotional state when you're constantly focusing on the next to-do item or the next goal or challenge that you have to overcome or deal with professionally?
Well, I would say that a lot of times when we dissect this to-do list, the root of that, the root layer of it is fear. And I know I've just talked about fear. For a lot of people, it's a competition with their fear of not being enough.
Wow.
So for a lot of people, it's a competition with the fear of not being enough. And that imposter syndrome, that not good enough, that thing will take you down the road and back again, let me tell you. If you don't get a meaningful awareness about it and right size it in a way that's going to be helpful. So when people come in and say, I want to do this and I want to do that and I want to do this and I want to do that, we first have to acknowledge that feeling, that urge. It's usually an anxious urge to kind of move forward. I want to get married. I want to have children at this time, and I want to be, rich by 30. and I'm working 4 jobs to be able to do that. I meet a lot of professional women, and a lot of these messages are messages that we're receiving from the environments that we're in, from our work environment, from home environment. And so I think it's important to kind of slow the pace a bit and see what is this really about? How would you know if you were enough? What would that feel like? What would that taste like? What would that smell like? And then we start from there. If you don't really know what it looks like and what it tastes like and what it feels like in your bones, you're always going to be chasing something outside of yourself. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. I'm sitting here like, I think you might be talking to me. So I'm processing what you're saying as you share this information, because it really makes me go inward with what you're saying. Okay, so, and I guess that's what you're trying to do anyway, is for us to really peel back those layers so that we can get to the heart of the matter.
That's right.
Okay.
Because that's where your destiny really lies. Your destiny is right at that core, you know, and sometimes we can't really hear our destiny because we have all this other stuff on top of it. And a lot of it is external and it's imposed.
So now, is that coming from others, or what we're imposing on ourselves, or what have you found that to be based off of?
I would say that usually for women of color, you know, it has to do with messages that we've been receiving all of our lives. For most of us, it's about what has been imposed upon us, because we already have very spiritual, resilient spirits. Our souls already know how to guide us and where to take us. We have mighty ancestors that are, you know, rallying around us every moment of every day, which is part of the reason why many of us are even still here after all that we've been through. I mean, if you look at a woman of color and you look in her eyes, there is a story there.
Wow.
There is a story that will break your heart and that will give you hope all at the same time.
Same time. Yes. That's why it's so important for me to communicate stories about women. So I think that this is really interesting. I never thought about just, you know, paying attention to people's eyes, because their eyes are, I guess, you know, I think there's a saying about your eyes, that they're, you know, your eyes are kind of the outward
window to your soul.
Yeah, the window to your soul. Exactly. So you're exactly right. I'm thinking about the various women that are in my life, and knowing some of their stories.
That's right.
And being privileged to hear some of their stories has been, because it's a privilege, because everybody doesn't share their stories, because I don't. So I'm thinking about me. So if I open up and I share a piece of me that nobody else knows, you know, that's a privilege that I'm giving to you.
That's right.
So okay, because I'm getting, you know, I want to make sure that I kind of just, you know, bring out more about your practice and some different tips that women can use. And so what are some warning signs that women can recognize when they're taking on too much?
Well, I can tell you that there is a moment where you get in your car and you don't remember your commute to and from work.
And you sure that's not a sign of Alzheimer's?
It could be. It could be a sign of Alzheimer's. But when you are so robotic and you are going through the motions and you don't remember certain parts of the day, the active parts of the day, you wake up with your hair on the pillow. Your blood pressure is still sky high even though you've been taking your medicine. you've gained 15 pounds and you don't remember eating it.
Wow.
You're still in this relationship with this person who still hasn't put a ring on your finger.
Mm.
You're screaming at your innocent children who just want something to eat because they're hungry.
Mm.
You know, you have to decide what it is for you.
Okay. Okay.
You have to decide where the boundary is for you. When you start doing and saying some of those things you never thought you would say or do, when you have been transformed into this robot, then maybe that's the universe's way of saying it's maybe time to do something different. It's time to look at things.
Right. Wow.
You're paying somebody else's bills before you pay your own.
Wow. So let's say you come to that realization that I know something's not right.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, the first thing to consider is seeking out therapy, for sure. Because a lot of times... Well, okay, I'm going to let you answer that question then.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that psychotherapy is very effective. I mean, I love the work. I think it has to be an optimal fit. I don't know that therapy is for everyone.
Okay.
Just because life can be so busy and because, there's all kinds of, distractions to be able to do the work sometimes. And so I think people have to find a place, so we are very community-oriented people, and so finding a really great Zumba studio or a great yoga studio, that might be your first stop. Therapy might be your last. Therapy might be your last stop.
Okay.
But someplace where your nervous system can begin to calm down.
Okay.
Where your nervous system can begin to calm down.
Well, I know something that's very prevalent in the women of color community. And I'm not going to say it's just women of color, because I think this is just what women do, is we rely so heavily on our girlfriends to provide us with that support. It may not be a large group, because a lot of times when people think of girlfriends, I think in their mind they go to this large group, but I don't think that it is a large group. I think it's a very select group of women that you truly can release, share, cry, holler, relax, rejuvenate with. So do you find that a lot of women may start there?
I do. I find that quite a few women have people who they would die for and who they believe would die for them. I think the challenge is that when you are so aware of your friend's values, again, without knowing it, sometimes you're still censoring and code switching, or you say, I'm gonna tell her this in about 6 months. I'm gonna tell her in 3 months. I know she doesn't really agree with this, or so when you are starting to censor on that level, or I don't want to hear from her about this, or I just want to tell it. I think that's when maybe you want to start considering, going to maybe see a therapist, because the moments when that information or that disclosure is bubbling up to the surface, those are great working moments.
Okay.
It's kind of like the Dow and the stock exchange. Some things you got to get on it right then.
Right.
Because that's where you're going to get these nuggets of transformational information. Or if you go to talk to your friend and she wants to talk to you first, then there's a competition.
Right.
And so then, there's just this part of you that gets lost and lost and lost, and then you're not really able to work on it on earth. That I think that can be a challenge for women. Okay.
I can see that. I definitely can. Because sometimes you may go to share and then they're dealing with something at the same time. And so depending on where you are in your relationship or what type of person you are, you may put your situation on the back burner and say, I will deal with this later, when
That's
it
right.
needs to be dealt with at that moment.
That's right.
Because
Or
it's a crisis.
on the flip side, you can become overly proactive, where your friend is basically saying, I'm just telling you this, I'm not ready to take any action. And you're saying, this is what, you're going to fix it. This is what we're going to do. And therapy is not that. That is not what happens in therapy.
Okay.
That's not what happens. That's not what should ever happen in therapy. I feel very comfortable saying that.
Okay.
Unless it's a crisis situation.
Okay. So, what do you do then? Because I know when I think of this, the relationship between your client and you. How do you replenish yourself? Because it seems like there's a lot of giving that you're providing. And so what are some of the things that you do to replenish yourself?
That's a great question. Well, in my graduate school training program, we had a self-reflective model. And so the self-reflective model required that we learn how to regulate ourselves and to keep ourselves on track no matter what. And so I have my rituals and routines of making sure that I'm available to do the work that I've been called to do. And I take that regimen very seriously. It's not something that I do every now and again. There is a religious aspect to my rituals, which include meditation, and it includes interfacing with colleagues. It includes community, and so it has several different arms that trust and believe the work that I'm doing makes me available to be able to do the type of work that I want to do and that I'm destined to do.
Okay. So with that, are there some tips that you can share for those women or women who would think to come to you on how to advance their careers without losing themselves? I think that's a better way to ask this question. I know I had shared it with you in another format, but I think that this may be a better way to ask this question, because if you're the A-type woman, or even not, you're just really driven. It doesn't matter what category they put you in. You're just driven. You're trying to get to this place. What are some tips that you can share with women who are looking to expand their careers and to move to different levels of leadership, whereby they don't lose themselves in the process?
I think you have to first understand where the drive comes from and the purpose of that drive in your life. You have to understand where the drive comes from, and you have to understand the purpose in your life.
Okay.
And once you have expressed that, then you want to be putting yourself in places, in positions to be able to help you grow. You have to understand your drive. The drive, without the understanding of it, see, there's a knowledge of it, without the comprehension of it, it's futile. You'll be going, and then you won't know when to stop, or if there's a stopping point. It won't yield the outcome that you really want to have. And I think I shared with you recently that my goal in life is to be financially set enough so that when I stop reporting to work, I'm reporting to life.
I like that.
Is that your ultimate goal, or is it something else? Is it to leave a legacy for your kids?
And what does that look like?
What does that look like?
Because legacy means different things to different people. Leaving a legacy means different things to different people.
That's right.
And then I guess that opens up the door. Well, if I want to do this, how am I going to do this successfully?
That's right. That's right.
You know,
That's
what are
right.
the steps I need to take so that it creates a success for me in passing this on to my kids or to my community or to other various people that you're connected to, or that you feel feel like they're part of your family. So you can define family however you choose to define that.
That's right. That's right. And I think I may have mentioned this before. This is going to sound tangential, and I promise to bring it back. When you have to go to the bathroom, Amelia, go to the bathroom. You laughing because you know exactly where I'm going with
Yes,
this.
I do.
If your bladder and your urinary tract is not intact, you won't be alive to be able to do all these things you want to do. Seriously.
That's true.
So that's what I'm saying. We have to dial it all the way back. When you're hungry, eat something healthy and nourishing that's going to help you move forward with your day. These are the basics. When you're tired, go to bed.
I'm learning that, I'm learning that.
We overlook these things all the time. The time.
That's very true. We're not listening to our bodies.
That's right.
And that's what you're telling us to do, is that we need to listen to our bodies.
And you need your body to be able to manifest your dreams.
Right.
So you have to take care of your body.
Right. Okay. Wow. That is so enlightening, but at the same time, it's so basic. But we ignore this all the time.
That's right.
We really do. I know I sometimes have to become present at the moment and say, and I've been doing this recently because I personally have felt extremely exhausted, and and just oversensitized to the things that I need to do, and because I need to do these things in order for this to happen. And I have been asking myself this question: if it doesn't get done, what is the worst thing that could happen?
Yeah.
And sometimes when you ask yourself that question, it brings you back to a place where you can just let it go for the moment.
That's right.
Because a lot of times we make things priorities that don't need to be priorities. That's my point by saying that.
That's right.
Because, we make it the priority when it's just a thing to do. And it get done when it gets done.
That's right.
So,
and what's for you is for you.
Mm-hmm.
We forget that too. What is for you is for you. No one who has been put on this earth to breathe the same air as you can take away from you what you were meant to have. What is for you is for you.
Mm-hmm. Can I add this to that statement? I think the only person that can not give you what is due to you is you. Because you're right, whatever is meant for you is for you to have. But then I think the other aspect of that is that you got to recognize it and accept it and receive it. Because sometimes it could be right in front of us, that thing that is specifically for you. But when you're not in tune, like you're saying we need to be, we don't see it.
That's right.
And we miss it.
That's right.
So that's just something that I recognized. Because I think that if people recognize that whatever in life is for you to get, and you focus on those things, then you don't have time to focus on being jealous of someone else.
That's right.
Or being envious, or trying to take away something that was never for you in the first place. You can't have it.
That's right.
And also, even if someone takes your idea, your thought, because especially in a professional setting, you may share something with a colleague, and then the next thing you know, you're in a meeting, and then that colleague brings up that idea that you had just shared. And I think what I'm recognizing with that is even if someone takes an idea that was given to you, they can't fulfill it the way that you were to fulfill it because it was given to you. They took it. But that's just my thought. I don't know. But that's kind of how I feel the world operates. What do you think about that?
That's right. I think that the universe gives us not three answers, because I've heard it said that the universe gives three answers: no, not yet, and yes. I think it's always either not yet or yes.
Okay.
I think it's always not yet or yes. And that has been even my own experience, too, where, I didn't understand why something wasn't, moving forward in the way that I thought it would or should. I felt disappointed. And then I later, when I look back, I can see, this was a not yet. It wasn't a no. It was a not yet. You had to come here first for this to be able to fully manifest itself.
Right.
Okay. So I think that there's a lot of hope in that, either not yet or just a yes.
Yeah, it is. It is. I think with parents we want to go with the three. As a parent, and that probably comes from being a parent, and when you're responding to your children, the answer is no. But most of the time maybe it is the two. I gotta think about that. You're gonna have me thinking about that when I get off the phone. Like, how do I respond to my daughter? Are the answers an absolute no? I think that's it. Is it an absolute no, or is it a soft no, which means not yet? Or yes, I can do this for you at the moment. So I'm gonna think about that as I interact with her, and I'll let you know what I come up with. Okay, so now share with us one last thing, the best financial decision and advice that you've received as a professional woman. The best financial decision you've made and the best financial advice you've received as a woman professional.
Well, the best financial decision that I've made is I think the two are kind of one and the same for me, is to never, there's two pieces to it, to never invest more in someone else's business than I would in my own. To never invest, because sometimes you meet with someone and they say, I can help you, I can definitely do this, and you're paying this person, and kind of like what you were describing with the idea, because it didn't come from you, it's still not reaching, it's still not manifesting in the way that you envisioned. Okay. So I think that piece is very important, to be able to discern if you are investing in yourself or if you're investing in somebody else's business. And the other part of it for me is, where urban playology is concerned, I am so proud to say that urban playology doesn't owe anybody a dime.
Wow.
There is not a credit card in sight for urban playology.
That is fantastic.
Now, I had to do a lot of emotional work. I had to do a lot of money relationship work in order to manifest that. I am so glad that what is in the bank is all ours. Everything that's coming is all ours. And that gives me freedom and autonomy to grow in the ways that I envision. Because with money, with money and investors, there comes expectations, different expectations that may not always align with your hopes for your business. I had the opportunity to, before, when I was growing urban playology, I had an opportunity to, it appeared to be an opportunity to get on board with another organization, and I later learned that there was a clause that said that virtually said that I couldn't be in private practice on my own for a period of time while I was in a relationship. And I thought, well, oh no, here we are back again to this place where I would be investing more in someone else's business than I would be in my own.
Mhm.
And I almost signed that contract. I will tell you. My name starts with an X. The X was on there.
Right.
And something said, wait a minute, Xanthia. Read over the fine print one more time. And there it was.
Wow.
I know I would not be where I am right now today if I had done that, if I had signed that contract.
Wow. So let me I'm going to, piggyback off of that and ask you this question. So when you're hesitant, when you feel an immediate hesitation on signing on the dotted line, is there a reason to pause? Is that your inner self telling you that you need to pause?
I would say so.
Because
with destiny, there's no pause. Think about all the things that you were destined to do and you just did.
Okay.
It just transpired. It just worked.
Because when it's meant to be and you're living in your purpose, it's almost like it just happens naturally.
There you go.
Okay. I think we're going to end on that. So please share your contact information for women to reach out to you.
Sure. I love working with professional women. Most of the women that come to Urban Playology are professional. They're doing quite well for themselves. Even some of them are even the primary breadwinners in, multi-person households.
Mm-hmm.
My email address my website is www.urbanplayology.com. Again, that's www.urbanplayology.com. I'm also, on Instagram at Urban Playology, where I post lots of hope-filled messages. And my phone number is 240-949-4168. 240-949-4168. This year I'm hoping to move forward with some e-commerce products for those who are too busy to do therapy, but who want to have some type of experience where they're beginning to get more in touch with themselves. So lots to come.
Wow, I'm excited for you. First of all, I want to say thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to join me for this wonderful and enlightening call. It was, I kind of felt like I got a little bit of therapy in having this conversation.
All right.
So thank you, Xanthia, for the powerful information that you shared. And I'm very sure that a lot of women will receive the passion that you have for what you do and will call you up for a session or sessions to bring them to the place where they can be at peace with who they are and tap into their passion for what they should be doing with their lives. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Anil.